Hello everyone, welcome to Brain Blitz Audios. Today, in this episode of NEET Preparation, we'll be looking at previous year questions of biology and medical entrance examinations in India. Today we're dealing with a very easy chapter and a very short one. The name of this chapter is Microbes in Human Welfare. This is the 10th chapter in the grade 12 syllabus for biology in CBSE. So, this chapter has less amount of questions compared to others, but yet every question is important in medical entrance examinations, and so therefore we'll be looking at these questions as well. Now, there are only 10 questions here, and that completes the entire chapter, so please watch the entire video in order to have a comprehensive idea of what may be asked from this chapter. So, here comes our first question. Which of the following antibiotic was discovered by Alexander Flemming? We have option A, Streptomycin, option B, Tetracycline, option C, Penicillin, option D, Terramycin. Now this question is very easy. I know everyone will be rooting for option C, Penicillin. And yes, you're right, it is the correct answer. Alexander Flemming was the first person to discover the existence of penicillin. Streptomycin, that is option A, was discovered by Selman Waxman. Tetracycline was discovered by Benjamin Duggar, and Terramycin was discovered by a joint effort between R.B. Woodward, a Harvard professor, and the company Pfizer. You know, that company which is manufacturing vaccines right now, so that company. So Pfizer, in association with R.B. Woodward, discovered the drug Terramycin. So option C, penicillin, is the correct answer. This was discovered by accident by the scientist Alexander Flemming. So he left his mold unwashed for a while, and after looking at a slide, he saw that there was this mold growing out of it. It was from the fungi Penicillium, and it threatened bacteria, so therefore he named the drug penicillin. Let's look at the next question. Which one of the following pairs is correctly matched? So you need to find which match is correct. Now, among the four options, let's first look at option D. This says Myxomycetes causes the ringworm diseases. Now, this option is incorrect. Why, you might ask? Because as you can see, the end of the name is mycetes, so you might think it's fungi, right? Wrong. Myxomycetes are another name for slime molds. And slime molds are a kind of protists. So they belong to the the kingdom Protista, and these are known as slime molds. The ringworm diseases, on the other hand, are caused by bacteria. So ringworms are caused by a fungus, and Myxomycetes is not a fungus. These are a group of slime molds. So option D is incorrect. What about option C, yeast, production of biogas? Again, this option is incorrect because it's mostly methanogens that produce biogas. Yeast, or Saccharomyces, usually involves itself in production of bread, where Saccharomyces cerevisiae come into being, and also alcohol. Alcohol and alcohol-based drugs are a result of fermentation by yeast. So option C, yeast, is incorrect. If you look at option A, Rhizobium, parasite in the roots of leguminous plants. Now, Rhizobium is found in the roots of leguminous plants, but the term parasite is incorrect because Rhizobium, they're not parasites. They form symbiotic association. So Rhizobium, it essentially helps the leguminous plants to convert nitrogen into nitrates, providing nitrogen to the plants. So therefore, option A, parasite, is an incorrect answer. The right answer is option B, Mycorrhizae involve themselves in mineral uptake from the soil. Mycorrhizae is once again a symbiotic association between fungi and the roots of plants, and their function is mineral uptake from the soil. So the mycorrhizae, so the fungi, they take minerals from the soil and supply to the plant, and in return the plant provides some of its food down to the fungus. So a symbiotic association. Option B is the correct option for this question. Let's look at this question. The bacteria Pseudomonas is useful because of its ability to A. Transfer genes from one plant to another, B. Decompose a variety of organic compounds, C. Fix atmospheric nitrogen in the soil, D. Produce a wide variety of antibiotics. Antibiotics are produced by other fungi and some bacteria, but definitely not Pseudomonas, so option D is incorrect. Option C, fix atmospheric nitrogen in the soil. This is the work of Rhizobium as well as other cyanobacteria and some other bacteria as well. So option C is incorrect. Option A, transfer genes from one plant to another. This is the job of a vector. And an example for a vector is E. coli, which is extracted from Escherichia coli. So option A is also incorrect because it's not from Pseudomonas. So option B, decompose a variety of organic compounds, is the correct answer. Pseudomonas, the particular species is aeruginosa. So Pseudomonas aeruginosa is helpful in decomposing a variety of organic compounds. So option B is the correct option. Next question. Chloramphenicol and erythromycin, which are broad-spectrum antibiotics, are produced by A. Streptomyces, B. Nitrobacter, C. Rhizobium, D. Penicillin. So here options B and C are incorrect because both Nitrobacter and Rhizobium are nitrogen-fixing bacteria. So they convert atmospheric nitrogen into usable form for plants. So options B and C are incorrect. If you look at option C, Penicillium, this is used for making antibiotic, but the name of that antibiotic is penicillin, the world's first antibiotic. And another form of penicillin, that is Penicillium roqueforti, is used for creating Roquefort cheese. So basically the mold is grown on the cheese, and then the flavor comes into the cheese, and then it becomes all bluey and gooey, etc. So option D, Penicillium, is incorrect. The right answer is option A, Streptomyces. So Streptomyces is the fungus that produces chloramphenicol and erythromycin, both of which are broad-spectrum antibiotics. Option A is the correct option. Let's look at this question. A patient brought to a hospital with myocardial infarction is normally immediately given which drug? A. Penicillin, B. Streptokinase, C. Cyclosporin A, D. Statins. So how do we solve this question? In this question, the main thing is that the disease that's given is myocardial infarction. It is also known as coronary artery disease. And the main problem that arises here is the clotting of blood, which takes place in the coronary artery. So therefore, we need a clot buster in order to immediately remove the effects of myocardial infarction. So we need a clot buster, and we need to find which of these options is used for busting clots. If you look at option A, penicillin is an antibiotic. So therefore option A is incorrect. If you look at option B, statins are used for lowering blood cholesterol as well as other levels of cholesterol, but they're not directly involving in removing clots. So even though clots are made out of fats and stuff, statins are not given because statins do not remove the clot immediately. They work slowly. So option D is incorrect. If you look at option C, cyclosporin A is used as an immunosuppressant. And what that means is that it suppresses your immune response. So cyclosporin A is mostly used in, preventing organ rejection. So when you have organ transplants, you inject the person with cyclosporin A in order to avoid organ rejections and other cellular responses. So option C is also incorrect for this question. The right answer is option B, streptokinase. So streptokinase is the clot buster that we use in order to remove the clot of blood present in the coronary artery during myocardial infarction in order to give some respite to the person and also gives the doctor some time before moving on to further measures. Now, let's look at this question. Microbes are used in primary treatment of sewage, secondary treatment of sewage, anaerobic sludge digester for production of bioactive molecules. Now, among the four statements, primary treatment of sewage is incorrect because primary treatment is usually containing physical processes. So therefore, any option with the statement 1 would be incorrect. So that means options A and B are incorrect. Now, statement number 2, secondary treatment of sewage is correct because secondary treatment is a biological process. So biological process. And in that biological process, you will have the digestion of anaerobic sludge and production of bioactive molecules, the flux. So therefore, option D would be incorrect because then it does not include secondary treatment of sewage, which is wrong. So the most appropriate option among the four is option C, statement number 2, statement number 3, and statement number 4 being correct. So microbes are used in production of bioactive molecules, anaerobic sludge digesters, and overall secondary treatment of sewage. This is the next question. Choose the right combination. Now the combination is given here. And let's look at our question. So in our question, we have E. coli, Rhizobium melilotale, Bacillus thuringiensis, and Pseudomonas butida in column 1, and in column 2 you have NIF gene, digestive hydrocarbon of crude oil, production of human insulin, biological control of fungal disease, biodecomposed insecticide. Now, how do we solve this question? Now, you could start from element A, B, C, and D and going so on and so forth, or you can just take one and then look at the options and find out which of them fit. Now, if you remember in an earlier question, it is given that the function of Pseudomonas was to digest organic compounds. So therefore, digestive hydrocarbon of crude oil will be correctly matched with option D, Pseudomonas butida. So any option containing D2 will be correct. And if you look at our following options, you can see that the only option which has DS2 is option D. So therefore, option D, A3, B1, C5, D2 is the correct answer. Let's check it. So in the question it says A3, Escherichia coli, production of human insulin, that is partially correct. Rhizobium melilotale, which is used for NIF gene, that is also correct. And then Bacillus thuringiensis, it's a biodecomposed insecticide, which is once again true. So option C5 is correct. So A3, B1, C5, and D2 is the correct option. Now remember, we've arrived at this option just by looking at option D and remembering what we've studied earlier in this episode. So this is a big example of how you can use elimination to find the correct answer easily. Now, if you didn't know about D, you could have started from A, B, C, but then we already knew about D from the earlier question, so that's why I jumped on it, and then from there to the right answer. Let's look at this question. What would happen if oxygen availability to activated sludge flux is reduced? A, it will slow down the rate of degradation of organic matter. B, the center of flux will become anoxic, which would cause death of bacteria and eventually breakage of flux. And option C, flux would increase in size as anaerobic bacteria would grow around flux. Option D, protozoa would grow in large numbers. Now, the important thing to note here is that activated sludge flux, they contain aerobic bacteria, so they require oxygen for functioning properly. So that means less O2 or less oxygen availability would imply the death of aerobic bacteria. So these aerobic bacteria form the flux. So therefore, option B, the center of flux becoming anoxic, causing death of bacteria and breaking of flux, is the correct option. Option C would be incorrect because that happens only in an increase of oxygen. Protozoa would grow in large numbers is incorrect because we're treating the sewage instead of adding more waste to it. Slow down the rate of degradation of organic matter is not related to what happens if there's less oxygen availability, because nothing occurs if the center of flux become anoxic. So option B, the center of flux will become anoxic, which would cause death of bacteria and eventually the breakage of flux, is the correct option to the question, what would happen if oxygen availability to activated sludge flux is reduced. So if you don't have oxygen appropriately, then those flux will eventually die and break up, which will result in no functioning of the waste management system. This is the next question. Which one of the following statements regarding BOD is true? Now, the term BOD is referring to biological oxygen demand. So, what happens if you have high biological oxygen demand? It means that many organisms inside the water are using oxygen in the water, which is dissolved in the water. So that means, number one, you'll have low O2, which results in death of organisms. But another inference that you can get is that you will also have more microbes if you have more biological oxygen demand. So the high biological oxygen demand is due to more microbes, which means that the water is more polluted. So more pollution is evident in water having high biological oxygen demand. So among the following four options, option A would be the correct option because it says the greater the BOD of wastewater, more is its polluting potential. Now, so if you have higher BOD, that means more microbes equals more pollution. So option A is correct. So option B is incorrect because if you have higher BOD, you have more microbes, not less. And option C, lesser BOD, more is polluting potential, is once again incorrect. High BOD causes pollution. Now, what about option D? It says the lesser the BOD of wastewater, lesser is its polluting potential. This sounds correct, but it's not entirely correct because BOD is used for finding biological pollutants. Even though there is less BOD, you can still have chemical, pollutants such as DDT, other pesticides, etc. So even though you have less BOD, that doesn't exactly translate to less polluting material, But if you have greater BOD, then you do know that there are more microbes, and more microbes equals more pollution. So just be careful when you're ticking the option, because lesser BOD does not mean lesser potential. So keep that statement very carefully, because this might be a big problem if you make it incorrect. Finally, we have the last question of this episode. The free-living fungus Trichoderma can be used for A. Killing insects, B. Biological control of plant diseases, C. Controlling butterfly caterpillars, and D. Producing antibiotics. Now, producing antibiotics is the function of fungi such as Penicillin. The Trichoderma is not a part of it. It does not exactly produce antibiotics. It has a different function. So therefore, option D is incorrect. If you look at option C, controlling butterfly caterpillars, so this is basically acting as a pesticide and a biological pesticide. So an example for a biological pesticide is Bacillus thuringiensis. So option C is also incorrect. If you look at option A, killing insects, there are other, biofertilizers and biocompounds specifically designed for killing insects. For example, you have nucleopolyhedroviruses, which do the same job. So the fungus Trichoderma does not have the exact function for killing insects, so option A is incorrect. The right answer is option B, biological control of plant diseases. Now, you might think, isn't killing insects and biological control the same? No, it's not, because biological control is more than killing insects. It means killing pathogens and also, checking whether there's a genetic anomaly, etc. So therefore, the free-living fungus Trichoderma is used for biological control of plant diseases, but that does not exactly translate to killing insects. So while option B is the correct statement, option A cannot be correct, because it is not true always. So option B, biological control of plant diseases, is the most appropriate option for the function of the fungus Trichoderma. So that concludes this episode of NEET preparation. The whole chapter is a simple one, but then we highly recommend you to read the chapter, especially the NCERT textbook, because there are a lot of information from this chapter. So therefore, it is possible to ask this in a lot of one-word questions in the exam, and also in medical entrance exams as well. So you can always refer the link for the mind map in the description down below. You can also refer to the playlist that is NEET preparation from the link in the description down below. And if you want to access more of our useful and interesting content, don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel, which is Brain Blitz Audios. We have a lot of educational content such as mind maps, JEE Main, CBSE board exam, memory hacks, etc. So do keep in touch with us, and we'll be happy to produce more of useful and educational content. So until the next webisode, take care, stay safe, bye-bye for now.